Hello, welcome to Verbling. My name is Hamish, and in this hour we are going to take a good look at some interesting and some likely questions you're going to be asked if you apply for a job with an English-speaking company, and if you then go on to have a job interview with that English-speaking company, whether it's a company based in your home country or a company based in the United States or the UK or Australia. These are some very common questions for you to get asked in an interview like this. So if that's something you want to improve on, please come join me in class. These first 2 minutes are for Verbling Premium users. So if you have a Verbling Premium membership, you can make that reservation and go ahead and join me now. Otherwise, wait a few seconds, and then you can join me in class when the join class button turns green. Let me see if I have anything I want to put in here. No? Oh yeah, one thing. If you have any problems with your Hangout today in class, if you have problems with the sound or the vision, any technical problems, then perhaps this web link will help you out. There's a link to the Google Hangout help area, so I put that in the Verbling chat box. So that might be helpful for you. The sorts of questions that I want to focus on with you today are questions not necessarily about skills and experience, but more questions in terms of, will you fit in? Will you fit in? Are you the type of person? Do you have the working style or the leadership style or the character or the personality to be a good fit with an organization? And whether a private company has 20 employees or whether it has 20,000 employees, they're still wondering. They're still asking themselves that question. When they see someone with good skills, good qualifications, good experience, they still need to be sure that you're going to be a good fit, that you're going to work well, that you're going to get on well and help achieve good results with the rest of your team, or if you're managing a team with the people that you're supervising, that you're getting well with people at all different levels of the organization and in different areas as well. And more in jobs these days, we're not working in a room just by ourselves. We're relying on other people's skills and help. So good to be able to demonstrate, good to be able to give good examples, and to really prove to the employer that we're going to be a good fit for that company. Yeah. All right. Let me say hello to a couple of people who are with me now, and we will get started. First of all, let me say hello to Dia. Hello, Dia.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Thanks for asking. How about you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Thank you. It's a cloudy day here in Tennessee. I think we're going to get some rain. Tell me, Dia, how's the weather with you?
Yeah, it's a quite beautiful weather right now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's springtime here, and yeah, and the weather, yeah, it's quite normal right now. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Now, tell me, Dia, remind me, are you looking for work at the moment?
Yeah, actually, I'm working as a telesales agent at Emerging Media UK. Yeah, selling mobile contracts and phones and packages and offers for the customers.
Okay.
And really, I love my job so well. I love my job so much. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm glad to hear it. That's always nice to hear. Dia, thank you so much for joining us in class today. I hope we have a good practice for you. Let me say hello also to Carlos. Hello, Carlos.
Hello. Hi, Hamish.
How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks. Quite good.
Excellent. I think you had to do some work. You had to do some studying over the weekend. How was your weekend?
Yeah, a bit busy. I was studying English for my next exams, and that's all. I was going out with my friends, and that's all. That's all. Very quiet. My weekend.
I think you did more than I did. And I think it looks like you have some nice weather there.
Yeah.
Spain, and a cat. I see your cat.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your turn. I promised there would be no cats today, so it's good that you've got a cat. I think that helps. Help scare mine off, maybe.
Yeah, mine is black. Mine is black.
I know, and
yours is white. Is possible white?
Yeah, sort of a gray white sort of thing.
Yeah.
So is it good luck? I mean, if that cat crosses over, is that good luck for us, or is it bad luck? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Carlos, thanks for joining us, and good to see the cat as well, of course. Yeah. All right. Let's also see. Let me say hello to Adams. Hello, Adams.
Hello, good evening.
Hello. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Egypt.
Egypt. Good to see you. Welcome to Verbling. Welcome to this job interview class. Adams, tell me, are you working or are you studying at the moment?
Well, I'm supposed to receive my new job tomorrow.
Oh right, okay. So you start tomorrow?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay. And what is it that you want to do in your job?
Well, to prove myself, but it will be quite challenging for me because it's a new field and hopefully it will work good for me.
So what kind of work is it?
I suppose it's customer service in HSBC Bank, if you hear of it.
Ah, yes, I know who they are. Yeah.
Yes.
Customer service.
It's quite challenging a little bit for me, but hopefully it will work good for me.
And is that in Egypt? Is that where you're working?
It's in Egypt, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Gosh, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. It must be true. Their advertisements are true after all. That's cool. And thank you for joining us. I hope we have some good practice for you today as well. Let me also say hello to Fabrizio. Fabrizio, how are you?
Hi. Fine.
Good. Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. Where are you from?
I'm from Argentina.
Welcome to Verbling. Very nice to have you in this class today.
Thank
Fabrizio, tell me, are you working or are you studying right now?
Right now, I'm studying because I have to sit for the last exam to get my degree as a systems engineer.
Okay. Systems engineer. Got it. And are you well, for example, do you want to work in Argentina? Do you want to work abroad? What's your plan?
I would like to work abroad, but I think that firstly I have to work here to get some experience and then go abroad. Okay,
I got it. Well, that sounds sensible. Well, good to have you in class. I hope this is a useful class for you today. Let me say hello to Larissa. Hello, Larissa.
Hello.
Hello. How are you? How are you today?
I'm fine, thanks.
Very glad to hear it. Tell me, where are you from?
I'm from Brazil.
Ah, Brazil. Excellent. Okay, welcome to class. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Are you working at the moment? Are you studying? What are you up to?
No, I'm studying at university.
And what are you studying?
I study English language. I
yeah.
be a translator.
Oh, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to have you in class. Thanks, Larissa, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Let me say hello and welcome back to Liliana. Hello, Liliana.
Hi, Hamish. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. I saw that you posted on Facebook and you will have more classes. That's really good.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
They're all in the morning though, so I know that's not the most popular thing necessarily. But that's how it goes this week for me, I must admit. How was your weekend, Liliana?
It was good. I taught Spanish class in a group on Facebook, and was a good experience.
Yeah.
And what else? And yesterday I went to the shopping mall with family to have lunch there, and that's all. Nothing special.
That sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. I find on Monday it's very hard to answer that question. What you did at the weekend, I can never remember. So I think you guys are much better at this than I am.
And what about your weekend?
Well, I think to myself, I can't remember. And then it all slowly comes back. Well, I was working on Saturday, so but Sunday I had a good rest on Sunday. I just read and watched lots of TV and did lots of things that people like to do sometimes. It was pretty good. Liliana, thank you for joining us. So good to see you. Last of all, let me say hello to is it Sakatara? Tell me if I get that wrong. Sakatara, how are you today? I can't hear you, but if you unmute that microphone, maybe I can hear you. Sakatara? Can't hear you yet, okay, so, no, okay. I'll try and come back to you later in the class, okay, because I hope we get to say hello to each other. In the meantime, let's take a look at these questions. Yes, I was having to think about these. I've got questions today. Again, I don't really want to talk about skills and experience necessarily. Much more interested in questions around, will you fit in? Are you just the right person for the company, depending on the way you work, your style of working, your leadership qualities, and also very much your communication skills and your ability to solve a problem, particularly around communication, because it is very easy to have a miscommunication with someone, to misunderstand what someone is saying or what someone isn't saying, and decide, oh, well, they don't like me, or they don't want to work with me, or they don't want to do that piece of work with me or for me. But much of the time, this is really just down to a misunderstanding or miscommunication. And the better we are at communicating, well, the better we can listen, and the better we can persuade, the better we can give information, receive information, and also the better we can solve problems as well. So someone who has these skills, someone who is a good communicator, and a good communicator at all the different levels of the company, they tend to be pretty popular at job interviews. You might have the same great skills and experiences as 10 other people. If that's the case, if they're interviewing 11 people for this job, well, I think the person with the best character, with the best working style, and of course the ability in a job interview to communicate the things they're best at, and to give the interviewer a clear picture of the kind of person that they're going to be in that organization, how they will add value, basically how they will help that company make more money. These are going to be very helpful things to be able to talk about in English with an English-speaking company at your job interview. Okay, so let me have a look and see what questions I had there. Oh, there they are. Okay, yes, first of all, I wanted to look at leadership, and here we go. There's my leadership in the chat box. What do you think? I mean, I want to ask you this question. Does everyone in an organization, does everyone have to show leadership? What do you think?
Yes. I think yes.
Okay.
Okay, because leadership, it means like to give an example for other people to do. So it doesn't really have to be a manager to be a leader. You can be a part of the group, but you're doing a great job. So other people will be like, we'll lead you. We'll follow you because you're doing a good job. So they will try to work as good as you are working.
Yeah. Well, I think that sounds absolutely right. And in my experience, it doesn't matter where you are in an organization. You can absolutely show your leadership qualities. If there's a team of people in an office, if the administrative assistant, if the person whose job it is really to keep the papers together, to make sure that people show up on time, to organize the meetings, or to organize the room, or the drinks, or the food for the meeting, or to make the photocopies, or to send out the emails, that person that person might be the lowest paid in the team, or might be the most junior of the team, but my goodness, they absolutely have an opportunity there to show leadership in terms of how they communicate with other people. Because, my goodness, the person who organizes meetings, they speak to everybody, for example, and the way that they communicate in the written form and the spoken form, that can absolutely show leadership in terms of clear communication, good manners, politeness, delivering on promises, doing what they say they're going to do, delivering things to a high standard, showing patience, and just, you know, by doing those things, and if you do lead by example, as Adam said, absolutely, people do. They are tempted to emulate you, to follow that example, and I think that's really true. So really, at any level, we can show those leadership qualities. So it's not just about, much more about, there's much more about leadership than being in charge. It's also really just showing a good example, demonstrating the best way to do something. And if you can do that, if you have examples of showing those leadership qualities, those are good things to talk about in a job interview. And I think these are really good things to be prepared to talk about in an interview, especially when you go for a job where maybe it's not a senior manager or a director or a team leader. Still make sure you're prepared to talk about the way you lead by example, the way you can demonstrate or show people how the correct way to doing things. You don't want to be surprised by a question like that and think to yourself, oh, but I'm not going for the top job. Why are they asking me about leadership? In my experience, they're still very interested in seeing how you do these things, because perhaps they see you as someone who could move up that career ladder, and that's a good thing when they're interested in your development and your progression, especially when they talk about it at a job interview. That sounds pretty promising to me. But we must make sure that we're prepared to talk about these things. Can you? What do you think, everybody? Can you think of a question they might ask about leadership? What kind of question could they ask if they're wondering about your leadership qualities at a job interview?
I think he might ask you, can you work under pressure?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you work under pressure? And if you face a problem or something, how you can deal with it?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Well, go on.
Yeah, you will negotiate with your workmates, or you will take a decision alone, or you will take the decision alone. Yeah, I think.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that question. You've got a couple of really good points there, Di. I think the first one, indeed, absolutely. You know, how do you handle pressure? Are you able to work under pressure? And if we let me put a couple of those questions in our chat box so we can all see them. 1 second. Let me see. We've got. We have this question, and that's quite direct. And of course, if an interviewer asks that question, are you able to? Can you work under pressure? It's a little tempting to say yes, I can. So a more professional interviewer is going to ask you a less direct question, but ask it a certain way so that you can't give a yes or no answer. So much more likely than can you or are you able to, they're going to ask, maybe if they want to ask you this question, if they're looking for evidence where you're able to work under pressure, if they want something from your past, an example, they're probably going to say something like, tell me about a time when you worked under pressure. Yeah, something like that. So let's put that one in as well, just so we've got all these examples.
Or he would ask you, would you consider yourself a leader?
Mm-hmm. I like the leader question as well, absolutely. And again, I would think, let's look at that one as well. So The truth is, I think they might ask that in a slightly different way, because of course but of course if they say, you know, do you consider yourself a leader, we can say, well, yes, absolutely. They might ask it. They might say, do the people you work with consider you a leader? And if they ask it that way, there's an opportunity, there's an obligation on us to give evidence, to talk, to explain,
exactly, yeah.
You know, to see what other people think.
On other hand, they can ask you that, do you enjoy a work team or teamwork? Do you enjoy a teamwork? Yeah, and how you work. Explain yourself when you are working with a teamwork. How can it goes on?
Okay. Yeah. Let me put that in as well. So interesting questions. Let's go with the under pressure one. I mean, Dia, what would you say if the interviewer said, well, tell me about a time when you had to work under pressure? What kind of thing would you talk about, Dia?
You working under pressure?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, actually, it depends about the situation and the circumstances that at that time. But actually, when the time that really I worked under pressure, when I was working on my graduation project at my faculty last year, really I used this pressure to work more efficient, and you know, because it make you focusing on the point, directly on the point, and not waste a lot of times to search about nothing, but makes you use this pressure to work more efficient and try to hit the point in short. Yes. Make you,
so okay, and so you were talking about your approach, your method to handling pressure, and you're describing it in a very positive way, because you're saying, well, but it helps me work. It makes me work more efficiently, and I like the answer. What happened? What's the outcome for you? You're giving the example of your graduation project. So you know, so what happened with the graduation project? Did you finish it? Was it successful?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I got A+ at my graduation project.
All right. So I think you would be mentioning that in a job interview.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so Dia, I think Dia's example that's a great one. Of course, we could talk about different things, but if we take Dia's example, talking about you know, if we're still a student or if we're recently graduated, we can still talk about working under pressure. My goodness, when I think back a million years to when I was a student, I think I was under more pressure then than I ever was in a real job. So we can talk about our studies. We can talk about work we've done, if it's recent, in a university or college or academic situation. I think when we think about the question, you know, tell me about a time when you worked under pressure, we can describe the circumstance, and that could be a graduation project, absolutely. We also need to identify the pressure, because sometimes, of course, most of the time, the pressure is time. Yes, it's oh, we have to get this done very quickly. The pressure could also be a lack of resources. Perhaps, you know, the time limit is the same, but we've lost a member of our team, so we have to do more work, or we have to learn how to do something very quickly because that team member, he's off sick, or he's off on vacation. Who knows what happened? But that he was the one who knew how to follow that system, how to use that method. So now we have to train ourselves up or train someone else to do something. So it could be business as usual, but we have less people to do the work, for example. So we talk about the circumstances, where and when. We identify the pressure. What kind of pressure is it? And then we want to talk about, well, what's the choice we're making here? What are we doing? What is our action? Yeah, and then of course, what's the outcome? What happens as a result? And I'm hoping when we prepare an example to give to answer a question like this, we're all going to have some good examples to give. We also need to be very clear about the good thing that happened at the end. So it's what's the problem, what did I do, and what happened as a result. Yeah, bang, bang, bang. And that structure to an answer, that's always going to be good for English ears to hear, because it has that sort of coherent structure that they're used to hearing. Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, I like that example. Yeah. So we've got working under pressure. Let's see. Interesting. I'm just looking at some of the chat points there. Some interesting points from Lucas there. Okay. What if they ask you? There was that question about, you know, I know we had a great suggestion earlier. Do you consider yourself a leader? And I was also suggesting the question might be, do other people in your team or in your current job or at university, did they consider you a leader? How do we answer a question like that?
Or they would follow the first question, follow up the first question with a question like, why would you think, or why would you consider yourself a leader?
Another good example, exactly. So well, Adams, how do you go about answering a question like that?
Okay, I'll be trying to tell them something from my previous job or something, and or maybe it's basically I'll be talking about doing my job at the best way I can, so it can be inspiring for other people. So I'll talk about leadership from this point of view. Basically, that's what I would do. Okay,
and can you give me a specific example?
Specific, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can make something up, like that's.
Okay, go ahead.
Like saying that at my previous job, I was working with my team, and I had this like lazy. But I can't say lazy, yeah. But I would say something like we had a partner who wouldn't working or functioning so well. But I was in no place to tell him work harder or to you have to work more, and I wouldn't like go tell the manager, but I kind of conveyed the message to him, or like told it to him in another way, by working well, by showing him that I'm so dedicated to my job, and that kind of idealistic talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe idealistic. I think that there's good evidence. There's good evidence that tells us if we demonstrate these skills and these qualities at work, that it's contagious. It is like a smile. It's like laughter. If we do good work, other people are more likely to soak that up, to copy it up. We know if we walk into a room and we're miserable, we're not, you know, we can suck the energy out of the room. If we go into a room or an office with energy, with a positive attitude, well, not everyone likes that, but we're more likely to get a better result.
Exactly.
And that's a real thing. So I think that these are really good things that we can talk about when we're asked about leadership qualities. Just that ability to set a good example, to demonstrate, to show other people, because especially if we're not the manager, if we're not the director, then absolutely right, we can't go around telling other people to work harder. That's not in our job description, but we can absolutely show leadership by example, and that can be a very effective tool as well, and it can be subtle. But I know if I started work as a younger person, if I started work and I was in an office and everyone else was working hard and they weren't chatting and they were so efficient, I would get the message.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be checking the Facebook at work because I would think, well, no, okay, we don't do that here. Okay, I get it. So Who needs Facebook anyway, right? But these are good things to look at. All right, let me find another question for us. I see some points about teamwork and about how you communicate with team members. This is interesting. Let me see if I've got a good question about that. Ah, yes. Now I know we've looked at this question before in previous classes, but I think it's always very interesting, and I want to mention this example question again because I know a lot of people find it difficult to give an answer to this. A lot of people, they see this question and they think, oh no, I mean, you know, where do I go with this? So, hey, let me put it in the box there. Ah, yes. What kind of people do you find it difficult to work with? Let me give that question to all of you to enjoy. And tell me, anybody here, tell me, what do we say? How do we answer that question in a positive way?
I think the emotional persons.
Is that an example of someone you don't want to work with?
Yes, for sure, because actually they will be overacting when something is missed or when something is missed or any drops happen at your work, they will be overreacting and will become so furious and enraged, about you and became quite mad at you. Yes, the emotional person for sure, the emotional person.
Okay,
yeah.
And
it will be a big problem if your boss is one of them.
Your future boss, yes.
Yeah,
And, well,
sure.
then that's an interesting problem. And I think if we're asked this question in an interview, well, we need to give an answer, right? We can't just say we get on well fantastically with everybody and it's perfect, because that would make us an angel. Right, it would make us perfection, and we're not like that. We all have people who we don't really want to go on vacation with. But when we join a company, there are going to be people that we think, that's not my perfect person to work with, but I have to get on with them. I have to be able to work well. So, so if we have to give an example, well, let's try and be honest. But the language we use, you make a good point. If we say, I don't like working with emotional people, and our interviewer identifies themselves as an emotional person, well, then that's a problem, right? So, but I think your example's still good, because when you talked about, I don't like working with emotional people, you talked about the reasons why that would be a bad thing, and they were solid. So I think perhaps instead of just emotional, we might say, people who are too emotional, people who overreact to small things, people who behave, and we can say sort of out of proportion. So, as you say, someone they're writing and their pen runs out of ink and they just burst into tears. That would be too emotional, I think. So.
Okay, how about you reverse it? Like you say, I prefer to work with practical people or something.
Yeah. I think it would be good to hit both things, because if they ask you what kind of people do you find it difficult to work with, we need to answer that. Yeah, we need to tell them the people we don't like working with. But we also want to end on a positive note, and we can do that by saying, if we go with the people who are too emotional, that seems okay. I don't know many people who would say, yes, I'm too emotional. I take offense at that comment.
Yeah, but the problem is, just as you said, what if the interviewer consider himself an emotional guy, or whatever you say? So it will be a little bit of it's kind of dangerous to cross this line, or that you might offend him or something.
Yeah, I think that's true, and you'll want to make your own judgment there. And sorry, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but I think after you add your point of view about the person that you can deal with, you must you put another point that you can deal with them by so and so and so and so. And after you told them that you can deal with emotional person because they are overreacting, they always became so furious from the little things. On the other hand, you must told them that I will be polite and I will be patient and I will be good listener. Yeah, because we are working to on one target. We are working on the same target. Yeah, that's all.
I like those examples. Okay, so what we've got is, what kind of person do you find it difficult to work with? Yes, we're going to need to give them a specific answer. We need to talk about something that is negative. But if we look at the structure of this answer, the first thing is, this is not the first question they're going to ask you. You're not going to walk in to an interview and they say, okay, a glass of water, okay, are you comfortable? Okay, now what kind of people do you find it difficult to work with? That's not going to happen. So if you think, so if you're going to make a judgment about the character of your interviewer, or maybe the people interviewing you. So you're going to have a good idea if someone is quite emotional, and if they are, but by their responses, by their questions, we're going to find a different example to give. And I think if we use the emotional one, we need to hit too emotional, over emotional, because emotional itself is that's just personality. That doesn't interfere. If someone is too emotional, well then we're out of proportion. We're doing too much. We're reacting too big, and we all know that can be distracting. It can be disruptive. It can cause a problem. It can slow the work down. So I think it's fine to talk about that. And
devastate the target. It can devastate the target. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And you give a great example of what else to say in that answer, because like you said, I don't like working with people who are over emotional, too emotional. But if someone is like that in my team, well then I'll do the following to make sure I can work well with them. And it's so good to say that up front, because if you give an example of someone you don't like working with, it is 95% certain that the interviewer is going to say, well, oh yeah, they sound terrible. What are you going to do if you're in a team with someone like that? What can you do about that? And they'll want to know, because especially if that interviewer is going to be your boss, they really want to know about this, because the last thing they want to have to deal with is when people in their team or in their division or directorate, whatever it is, they don't want to deal with people not getting on, because it's like having to work in a schoolyard with children. They want people who can get along, and they want people with different personalities. To make up that team, we need different kinds of people, but we also need people with the skills and the emotional intelligence to make friends for work, right? Not that we have to go on vacation together, but to get on well enough so that we can overcome any miscommunications and avoid any problems that are related to personality or working style. So, and you talked a little bit about that, Dean. I think that's really important. And then at the end, absolutely, go on to say, go ahead.
Hamish?
Yeah, Liliana, sure.
Say something about it.
Absolutely.
I think I don't know if I can answer in this way. I think it's better to focus on the work and not on the personality in certain types or kinds of jobs. Because if you focus on the personality, maybe you choose this person in a bad way, or maybe you, how can I say that? You don't like their ideas, and I think maybe if when you're focusing in his work, maybe you can find a solution to face that. If, for example, if you show respect for this person and try to approach to him or to her, maybe you can find a solution. I think it's better, it shows that you are interested in have a communication with this person. Maybe at the first time you don't have a good connection with this person. because we tend to use our way of being instead of our work, our way of work. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
I think so. Well, let me. I'm going to test myself. I think. I mean, I take your point, Liliana, absolutely about respect for individuals and respect for their individual personalities, their individual ways of working, and just their individuality. Just but the fact that we are all different. We're not. This is not about making sure everyone is the same. Not at all. I would say with again with and you know, we're concentrating on these English-speaking companies and assuming that they're coming from an English-speaking culture as well. So whether it's British, American, Canadian, Australian, there will be a focus there on the importance of us knowing just enough about other people so that if well, for example, we go into work, we start with a new team, and we find on Monday mornings a member of that team is always looking a little bit tired, or sometimes doesn't come in, or maybe just doesn't seem to get, has a pretty bad attitude on a Monday. There could be lots of reasons for that. Perhaps ultimately the reason is that person needs to find another job, right? Because we can't solve everything. But if we get to know them well enough to know that, okay, well, that's the day that they have a responsibility to look after an older parent, or they're divorced, and that's when they have the kids over, and then they're upset about that. There are things we don't have to know every single thing about the people we work with. That would be just crazy and too much. But we need to know a little bit, and I would think, especially if we take an example like the United States, if we make that effort with an American company, with people who speak English from that American cultural background, it's really quite easy to get to know the things you need to know in order to really help that relationship. Yeah. Because of it, there are things people do. Either someone gets sick, or someone's just having a bad time. Because we can all turn up to a meeting and be unprepared, or be tired, or not be very well, or have a headache, whatever it is. If we do that for 2 years, well, that's probably a problem. But if we get to know people, we can understand much more. If there's something we can do to help the process, if there's an adjustment we can make to the way we communicate, or the way we speak to them, or the way we give them a task to do, or the way we listen to them, that makes it much easier. And that's not about either saying we need to be the same, and it's not about having to know every single thing about someone, and it's also not about them knowing everything about us, because we make a choice at work about the size of our window, because everyone else we work with, they can look in through this window and maybe they'll know, for example, that I have cats, for example, but there'll be plenty of other things about my life that I think, well, they don't need to know that, whether it's a political view or a religious view. There are things where I wouldn't choose to talk about those things at work, and you have control over that. But if you make that effort, and if you demonstrate to a potential employer that you are willing to get to know people well enough that you can understand their character or their working style, and it maybe make adjustments to your own, then you can solve a few of these problems before they get bigger than they need to be, and perhaps we all become too emotional. Yeah.
And you can find, when you work, you can find different kinds of personality. So I think you have to deal with them, but in a good right, not to try to discuss or argue with them, because we all are different, and we have a different style of working. So we have to find a good environment to work.
Absolutely, and it's not our job to solve 100% of this problem. We can, we could be as nice as pie. We could be perfect in our behavior, but still the person we work with doesn't return the phone call, doesn't answer the email, doesn't do work to a good quality, well then we tried our best. It's not up. We're not trying to change someone. We're just trying to make it as easy as possible to get a good relationship. So yeah, go ahead.
I can answer that question.
Oh, please, yeah, go for it.
I can work with everyone. I think I know way how to work and communicate with them. I can answer that.
Yeah, go. So tell me again. Tell me again, please.
Yes, I answer the question. I can work with everybody, people, and I think I know way how to work and communicate with them.
You can say that, and I mean I'm not. You can be positive about that. Sorry. Yeah, I'm getting some noise from you.
Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Kind of person I don't like to work with them. I can answer that.
Yeah, we're saying is it's good to start this answer in a positive way, and we can say, oh, I can work with people at all levels and different personalities. I can do these things. But when they ask you a direct question, especially with an English-speaking company, if they say, tell me about people you don't like working with, we need to give them an example of someone we don't like working with. Because if they ask that straight question, we need to give them the straight answer. So we can get, so let's give them an example, and it could be all kinds of things. Hey, we could just say, I don't like working with people who don't work hard. I don't like people who don't do the things they say they're going to do. I don't like working with irresponsible people. You can pick something that really no one would disagree with, because no one likes working with irresponsible people. And also no one would say, oh, well, I'm irresponsible, so I'm offended that you don't want to work with me. No one's going to do that. So there are some examples we can choose that really are going to be fine if we just want to say something that most people would agree with. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Of course, then we have to talk about, well, what do we do if we find ourselves in a team, in a new company, where there's someone who never answers the phone, or who's always angry or distant or aloof when we speak to them. What do we do about that? And if we say we're very good, if we say we have the skills in getting along with people, if we say, oh, I have great communication skills, it doesn't matter who I work with. If we say that, well, those are just words until we give an example. So if we say up front, oh, I can work with anyone, we need to prove it. We need to give an example of when we worked with a difficult person, of when the relationship was difficult, and we solved it. We need to give a good story here, a real story as well, I hope, but some good evidence of us doing this. Otherwise, it's just words, and that's true for any of these questions. Can you do the job? Do you want the job? What are your skills and experiences? If we just, if they ask about what are your strengths, and we say, oh, well, I'm a great communicator, I show great attention to detail, I'm very punctual, I'm very responsible. These are lovely things to say, and they probably want these things, but if we don't give an example, there's nothing for them to write down. You're not giving them any evidence, so we need to be as clear and specific as possible. And those, hopefully, are examples from either your current job or your recent work history, or if you've just graduated, sure, talk about your education, talk about university or college, or you could even talk about a voluntary work or something you do as a hobby where you have responsibilities for, I don't know, a sports team or a charity, something like that. Most of the time, most of your examples really should be work related, because that's easier for an interviewer to make that connection between what you're saying and the person they want for their organization. You want to make it as easy as possible for that interviewer to see you in that job. That is your job in the job interview, is to make their job as easy as possible. And if you do that, you're going to increase your chance to be successful in this interview. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. No problem at all. Let me see. Well, that's maybe one more question. Let me see. What do we have?
I think communication is the key. If you try to understand them, maybe you find an easier solution. And you can face any difficult situation.
Okay, and what do we do if you know it, because I think communication skills, of course, are essential, and 99% of jobs these days we need good communication skills. Companies are looking for people who can communicate. So what do we do? What's an example of good communication skills?
I think to talk to this person about if they can't if they like to talk about their problems, because sometimes they don't do it. So try to find a way to approach to them and to talk about what happened with them. If they have any personal problem or a problem with or a problem with work. So I think try to if you have reached an understanding, I think you can find a better way to deal with this kind of people. Maybe
okay, I like that.
A dialogue.
A dialogue, now that is a great word to use, I think. Dialogue, yes, because again, you know, communication, it's not just the stuff going out, is it? It's the stuff coming back, and it's our ability to listen, which is at least half, maybe more than half of successful communication. Because how do we know how to communicate with someone until we've heard them, until perhaps we've seen them and seen, you know, their expression, their body language, to have an idea of really how best to explain something, or how best to ask for something, yeah, or how best to share something if we have a joint responsibility. You know, when we have to work together with someone, as adults, when we all have other competing responsibilities at work and at home, in our social lives, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we need to be sensitive to that. It's not up to us, of course not, to solve all their problems, but sometimes a little awareness helps us be more sensitive, I think. And these are good. Sometimes we can give an example like this in an interview, an example of when we had a difficult situation at work with a teammate or another team member, an example where we were able to improve that working relationship because we had those good communication skills. And if we can give a clear, real example of when we did this, of when we had a happy ending or a good result, very helpful, because this is a way to say, oh, I know it's difficult to work with some people. I've had those experiences, but I know what to do. I can do my best to get on with other people and get a good result there. And that's all they're looking for. They're not expecting anyone to be perfect at this, but they definitely want to reduce the amount of confusion and miscommunication and unintentional rudeness and all the other things that can happen if we're just not listening, or if we're not speaking clearly, or really just communicating clearly as well. I want to go and say hello to Carlos again. Carlos, if you had to explain what good communications look like, what good communications is, what would you say to that?
I think that a person who has good skills to communicate with others is, from my point of view, I think that is a person that can explain her or his ideas to the others, and these persons understand you. In my case, for example, I think is this I think is this the sum, this the sum of the definition from my point of view, in my opinion.
And Carlos, and that, I think that's really solid. Carlos, if you have to communicate something, if you need someone to do some work for you, what's your preference? If you need to give someone a piece of work, either they're doing you a favor, or you're paying them to do something, or you're working together and you want them to do this one thing. How do you prefer to do that? Do you prefer to sit with them and talk it through? Do you prefer to write an email? Do you like to talk on the phone or on Skype? What's your preferred way to communicate?
I think that is the best way for me is to face the problem in person. I think. I think the contact, the visual contact, the I don't know what is the word in English to define the movements of your hands.
Yeah.
Your hands, your express yourself by your body. I think that is very important to communicate with your partners in a company. I think the other ways, I think that are cooler or
cooler,
freezer or
I like cooler, yeah. Colder maybe, yeah.
I think, yeah.
And I thank you for that example, Carlos. I think that's a great example, because of course there are a lot of people who are going to be exactly the same as you. They want that face-to-face contact. They want to be able to, of course, yes, to see the person and to see the body language, because otherwise it's just more difficult to know how things are going, to know what the problems are. I know a lot of other people and I think of my own British work experience, where if they have a problem, if they need to explain something to someone, if they want to give a job to someone, their favorite way is to write some huge email out like that and then send it and then go home, and then the next day they come in and see how things are going. And that's a much more directive way to give a piece of work, is to say, here's what I want you to do, bang. And then they don't, because they don't want that face-to-face interaction. They're less comfortable with it. And I have to say, I see advantages in the written form. If someone gives me some written instruction or a written request, I can read it and I don't have to worry about my own reaction. I can just read it and go through it at my own pace. But this isn't about one form of communication being better than another. It's about our preferences. So so Carlos, for you, if your preference is that face-to-face contact, that kind of communication, and of course a lot of people would agree with that. That's where they're most comfortable. So we can have an awareness of that preference, and we can also, of course, be aware that other people, that's not going to be their preference, and perhaps we need to make an adjustment and think, okay, well, if they want it all written down, fine, I'll give that to them. I can make that adjustment myself. It's not my preferred way of doing things, okay, but maybe I'll do it that way for them, and maybe you'll get a better result, because ultimately this is what we want, right? Is to find the most efficient way, to find the most effective way to communicate with people, to end up with the best product or the best service, and also have the clearest understanding, the clearest relationship. And that's why when we go to a meeting, someone's taking a note of what's going on, then they send it around, so that we know who agreed to do what, who's taken responsibility for things. And sometimes, yes, people are more comfortable that it's spoken way. or with an email, or with a Skype conversation, or with an instant message chat. Sometimes it's just a handshake that settles the deal, right? So I think that, of course, there's a variety of ways, and we have our own preferences, and of course we need to be conscious and sensitive to the way other people want to work as well. But all of these things, my goodness, if we can give good examples of A, being aware of how we like to do things, and B, having a sensitivity to how other people like to work, and to maybe making an adjustment, and just trying to fit in sometimes, if that helps, with their working style. If we can talk about that in a job interview, if we can give a good, clear example of when we've overcome a problem with another worker, my goodness, these are good examples to give, because it shows that we have those skills. Yeah, we can say we have them, but before we give an example, if we don't give an example, it's just words, isn't it? So let's be specific. Let's give some clear examples, some clear stories of when we've had a situation like that, and the actions we've taken, and the result at the end as well. And that can be really helpful in an interview. Yeah. Hey, we're out of time. We're going to do this, I think, one more time this week. Check that schedule on Facebook. I want to leave you with a couple of links. The first one is About.com's advice for people having job interviews with English-speaking companies if English is your second language. So I think very helpful. There we go. Some really great example questions, but also just some really good advice about how to prepare for an interview like that. Because I know, of course, I'm sensitive to the fact that using English as a second language for a job interview, that can cause some anxiety. That needs
to express yourself in MacFarlane English.
Exactly. So, and that could be frustrating, because you're thinking, well, if I could just do this in my own language, well, much easier. But we don't always have that opportunity. So it's a test of two things, and that makes it more difficult. But the more we prepare, my goodness, the more we increase our chances of success. Okay. So let me put that up there, and of course, here's the Facebook page as well. Please follow me on Verbling and on Facebook, and you'll see when we're going to do the next class like this as well. And there's definitely one more this week. Thank you so much, as always, for your great discussion and your answers. Really nice to hear your answers today. Thank you so much. I'll see you again soon, okay?
Thank you.
See you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.